A common expression is it's like comparing apples and oranges, which is supposed to mean that the things cannot be compared, but apples and oranges are pretty similar. Is there a better metaphor? What would the comparison of apples and oranges tell you? It's like comparing varicose veins to gummy worms, or to gummy bears. Um, the comparison of apples and oranges would tell me, well, they're both fruit, they're both round, they're both not too sweet. They have a lot of surface similarity. The colors are different, and the textures of the outside is different. The comparison of apples and oranges would tell me, like, about the category of fruit and how similar these surface or deeper meanings of fruit are to each other. Can you name the three key assumptions which are often violated of the geometric model of similarity? And for each one, can you come up with other examples of how these assumptions might be violated? The assumption of minimality. A minimality means that an object and itself must have the same amount of similarity independent of the object. That is to say, like the distance between a coffee cup and itself is zero. This is violated by judgment errors about whether stimuli are identical, errors in identification or recognition. Like, for example, if you don't recognize that the coffee cup is exactly identical to the other object, you wouldn't see the distance between them as zero. The assumption of symmetry. It means the distance between an object and a second object is the same as the distance between the second object and the first object. Like the distance between you and your friend at a bus stop is the same difference between your friend and you at a bus stop. But the order of objects can matter about their judged similarity, such as putting North Korea and Red China, North Korea in front of Red China in an example comparing them, or Red China in front of North Korea in an example comparing them. If you put North Korea first, North Korea and Red China are considered to be more similar than Red China and North Korea. And metaphoric similarity isn't really the same either. Like Juliet is the sun, but the sun is not Juliet. It's almost like the order isn't reversible, like the order matters. And then you have the assumption of triangle inequality. For three stimuli, the additive psychological distance between two pairs of stimuli must be greater than or equal to the distance between any one pair. Like, for example, dogs are similar to cats, and cats are similar to mice, but dogs and mice are not as similar. This is violated when two pairs that are farther apart in physical space are closer together in psychological space than two other objects that are compared that are physically closer together but are psychologically farther apart. The assumption of triangle inequality. For three stimuli, the additive psychological distance between two pairs of stimuli must be greater than or equal to the distance between any one pair. How does Tversky's contrast model address the shortcomings of the geometric model? The geometric model only considers shared or mismatched features, not their interaction. But the contrast model includes shared features and distinctive features. So you can have asymmetric similarity because the distinct feature multipliers A and B are not constrained to be equal. As a result, the impact of distinctive features for one concept may be greater than or less than the impact of distinctive features for another concept. North Korea would be predicted to be more similar to communist China than the reverse because we assume to know more about communist China. The contrast model is useful dealing with the similarity among items when some items are more familiar and more important or at different levels of a hierarchy. So basically, with the geometric model, you're only like comparing or contrasting like basically the same or opposite features, like shared or mismatched features. But with the contrast model, you're looking at unique features of each object that make them different and similarities between them, shared features and distinctive features. How do you take advantage of similarity when learning new things? Do you try to group similar terms together? Do you study with the same people? Do you try to uncover deeper similarity relationships? If so, do you think that helps with recall? Why or why not? Like finding connections between concepts is, of course, a great way to make sense of it in your mind and strengthen your neural connections. So you always have to do that, whether it's like with English or with psychology ideas. Yeah, studying in the same place is a good idea too. Like you get into a rhythm. It helps with recall because it like becomes a part of your mind. The more you deal with the mental representations and you manipulate them and you compare them, you heighten all like the infrastructure of your mind, how things highlight each other. I do think it's important to create some variability though, like he said, because concepts that are too similar all kind of activate each other in a cluster. So you really want to also distinguish them nicely too. Maybe like you could use a different studying method for each course or just like anything to make it like distinctive in your mind.